Hello and welcome once again. You're watching News Unlocked, the show that takes you behind the headlines and looks at stories from different angles. 2 months after the mysterious death of actor Sushant Singh Rajput, numerous conspiracy theories and a clamor for a CBI probe, finally the Supreme Court has decided to hand over the case to the Central Bureau of Investigation, the country's premier investigating agency. But what really is the CBI's track record when it comes to probing high-profile celebrity cases? The fact is, it's none too impressive. So while the cacophony continues about the CBI ensuring justice for Sushant Singh Rajput and a fair investigation, the question that we are going to ask on the News Unlocked: can the CBI unravel the truth and bring this mystery to a close without all the noise around it? We've decided on the News Unlocked to go back, therefore, to other cases involving celebrity deaths, cases where the CBI has probed, to find out how successful is a CBI probe. That's our focus as we unlock the news again. Take a look.
The big breaking news coming in is that the Supreme Court has ordered the CBI to investigate the Sushant Singh Rajput death case.
Days after a tussle between the Mumbai police and the Bihar police, allegations and counter-allegations between the families of the late actor and his girlfriend Rhea Chakraborty, and a widespread clamour for CBI to take over the case, came this verdict by the Supreme Court: a CBI probe into the actor's death.
Today has been a great victory for the family of Sushant Singh Rajput. This is a battle which we have been fighting for more than 2 months now.
The CBI, being the premier investigating agency, has a number of cases throughout the country that it is dealing with. And one of the more publicized cases that the CBI is handling is that of actor Jiah Khan's death. The Sushant Singh Rajput case has many similarities with the Jiah Khan death case, the only other big Bollywood death case that the CBI took over in recent past. Jiah Khan's death case is still pending a verdict, even as the CBI is still investigating it. On June 3rd, 2013, Jiah Khan was found dead in her Mumbai home. She was found hanging from the ceiling fan. 4 days later, a 6-page suicide note allegedly addressed to her boyfriend Sooraj Pancholi was found by Jiah Khan's sister. Sooraj Pancholi was taken into custody by the Mumbai police and later granted bail by the Bombay High Court. Unsatisfied with the probe into the case, in October 2013, Jiah Khan's mother, Rabia Khan, filed a plea in Mumbai High Court seeking a CBI probe into the death case. On July 3rd, 2014, the Bombay High Court ordered the CBI to investigate the case further. But over the years, the CBI has also been pulled up several times for lapses in the way they conducted their probe. A charge sheet was filed in the case in December 2015, and it termed Jiah's death as a suicide and accused Sooraj Pancholi of abetment. Another high-profile case being investigated by the CBI is the Sheena Bora murder case. After many twists and turns, the case was transferred to CBI by Maharashtra government in September 18, 2015. Sheena Bora, an executive working for Mumbai Metro 1 and based out of Mumbai, went missing on April 24, 2012. In August 2015, Mumbai police arrested her mother, Indrani Mukherjee, stepfather, Peter Mukherjee, Indrani's ex-husband, Sanjeev Khanna, and driver, Shyamveer Rai, for allegedly abducting and killing her and subsequently burning Sheena's corpse. All indications are that this case too, being investigated by the CBI, is nowhere near closure. While the CBI faces a lot of criticism, from being a political tool to unnecessarily dragging its feet at times, the central agency, however, has a better track record than any of the state investigative agencies in the country. So it is no wonder that the clamour for a CBI probe grows every time a case gets controversial.
So is the CBI the best placed agency to handle a case like that of Sushant Singh Rajput, given the fact that he was a celebrity, given the fact that there is so much of media attention on it? Joining me now is Yashovardhan Azad, former IPS officer, and Shantanu Sen, former Joint Director CBI. Both of them have served at the center. Yashovardhan was with the Intelligence Bureau. I want to come to you all in a moment, but I want you therefore before that to look at what Rabia Khan, the mother of Jiah Khan. Remember, Jiah was the last case which the CBI handled in a way involving such a celebrity, and what she had to say on her experience so far in the CBI probe that has been handling her daughter's death. Again, there the charge was abetment to suicide. Take a look at what she said and told us.
There are a lot of suspicions and worries for me regarding this Sushant Singh case. The way in the initial part, the Mumbai police behaved with Bihar police, and now the CBI will come. CBI, in my case, did not get any cooperation from Mumbai police. Mumbai CBI was under pressure and was constantly told by the Bollywood icons not to interrogate the boy, not to ask him any questions, and not to proceed with the investigations. I took this matter to the head of the CBI in Delhi and told them and gave them a report, international review on these CBI charge sheet and due police charge sheet. And I said, please look into this matter, and there are hundreds of questions. Please answer to this. They told me, the head of the CBI told me, Madam, trust the institute, not just the officer. We are on the same boat. I said, I can be only on the same boat if your officer in Mumbai allows me to be in it. Now, today was the hearing. Again, the judge was not there, and the accused was not there. The accused lawyer was not there, whereas CBI investigating officer was there, and my law team was there. Since in COVID, we can't travel frequently. So this is the case, and this delay and, obstacles, they're constant in Bombay. That is why my daughter's case is not coming to a closure.
So there you have Rabia Khan relating her experience of the CBI handling her daughter's death and the allegations of abetment to suicide. You answer now for us, Yashovardhan Azad and Shantanu Sen. Do you believe that the CBI is best placed to handle this case? Why don't you start, Shantanu Sen, since you're a former CBI director? Do you believe that the CBI is free of any pressures? Here is a mother in the Jiah Khan case saying there were obstacles.
Rajdeep, there are two stages of...
Let me try and get back.
Filing of charge.
Yes.
Thereafter, the trial starts.
Yes.
Now, you are here linking both.
Yes.
You are blaming the CBI for both delay in filing charge sheet and delay of closure of case. I'm afraid you are doing injustice to the CBI. Judiciary is not in our hands. You know our trials take enormous time. Number of cases, take the most celebrity case which I did, the urea scam, where Minister of Fertilizer, public servants, even son of the Prime Minister, and even bureaucrats were involved. That investigation continued from 1996. Charge sheet was filed within 2 years, but the trial continued right up to 2000, and all of them were ultimately convicted. Similarly, the Punjab National Bank robbery. Investigation continued for years, not years, just 2 years, but the trial continues. Now, in the media, they have no understanding, I'm afraid I must confess candidly, about the juxtaposition of the charge sheet and the trial. Trial is not in our hands. The opposite side seeks adjournments. The court is sometimes unwell. CBI prosecutors who are independent, who conduct the cases, take time. So trial in our country sadly continues for years.
So you are making an important distinction between a charge sheet, which you believe that the CBI is more than capable of filing even in these high-profile cases, despite any pressures or obstacles.
But I will give you a series of cases starting from 1948.
Okay,
ICS officer C.S. Raman. His charge sheet was filed CBI within months.
Okay,
Similarly, Arjun Singh's father, the Maharaja of Rabea, for taking a bribe. Then Sirajuddin case, the Minister K.D. Malviya was involved. They were all completed. I have personally done investigations in high-profile bureaucrats, finance officers who were involved with Harshad.
So you're giving you're saying
took time.
Yeah, you're saying the CBI is more than capable of handling such cases. You are not responsible if the trial goes on for years. Yashovardhan Azad, why don't you respond? I've given Jiah Khan's example because that is a case which comes closest to this. In a way, there again there were charges of abetment to suicide. There, in that case, a particular actor, Sooraj Pancholi, was being accused. We are now 8 years later, and the case has barely moved forward. And there will be questions whether the CBI itself is necessarily in a better position than the local police.
Well, in the case of Sushant Singh Rajput, let me tell you that, in fact, using CBI is an overkill. This is a case which could have been easily investigated by the Mumbai crime branch or any SIT which could be set up by the state government. But certainly, as far as the CBI record goes, it's much better than the state governments, and that's why people tend to go for CBI investigation. As Mr. Sen has already pointed, the trial itself, the investigative agency cannot do anything, and in fact, that's a separate issue for discussion. Why the trials are painfully long in our country? How all the time the lawyers use time to take more time, and they get grant extensions and all that. So let's not discuss that. But as far as the capability goes, there's no doubt that CBI is an outstanding organization. Now, one thing is true, that there are many cases, if you talk about
the outstanding organization, with due regard, which only a few years ago the Supreme Court called a caged parrot, Mr. Azad, I might remind you.
Oh, that's true. So I'm just coming to that. In fact, I'm coming to that. You see, why the CBI is blamed is that the CBI takes up mostly cases of the opposition. So sometimes people call it the Central Bureau of Investigation against the opposition. And there are cases against some very high-profile political leaders. Sometimes they go slow, sometimes they go fast, depending on the political scenario. But I'll tell you one thing. You have a case which doesn't have any political fallout. Now, in Sushant Singh Rajput's case, there is, of course, a lot of bickering between the states, but the case per se itself is a clear enough case because it's a fresh case. The FIR has been registered by the Bihar government, the Bihar police, and it's coming straight to the CBI. And therefore, I don't think that there should be any doubt that CBI will do a very good job. Now, the case content per se, that's a different thing. I'm not talking about it, because even if I would be registering a case, or Bihar police would be registering a case like that, the first question they would certainly ask is that why didn't you give this complaint to the Mumbai police just after his death? Or why didn't you give this case in February itself when the complaint was an informal one? Now, that's a separate issue. But as far as investigative ability is concerned, CBI will certainly do an excellent job.
I think you made an important point that this is a fresh case. To that extent, it should be in normal times. I don't know whether we live in normal times, free of the political pressures. But remember, there is the media cacophony and there is the issue of abetment to suicide. I want to come to you, gentlemen, in a moment, because we have a story on why abetment to suicide is such a difficult case to prosecute. Remember, in Sushant Singh Rajput's case, his girlfriend Rhea Chakraborty is being accused of abetment to suicide in the FIR that has been filed. It's a charge difficult to prove in the court. Section 306 of the IPC, which relates to abetment of suicide, has been at the center of raging debates in the recent past. Take a look at just why such cases have dragged on for years, the charge not proven.
An FIR generated a shock-and-awe moment. Sushant's girlfriend Rhea Chakraborty was booked. The family of Sushant Singh Rajput filed an FIR at the Rajiv Nagar police station in Patna, alleging that Rhea Chakraborty was responsible for his death, and the charges are astounding. From abetment to suicide to cheating, to wrongful confinement to criminal conspiracy. While abetment to suicide is one of the most difficult charges to prove in a court of law. According to the 306 section of the IPC, a person abetting suicide of another person shall be punished with 10 years imprisonment and shall also be liable to a fine. Abetting a suicide is a non-bailable charge. A person is guilty of abetment when he instigates someone to commit suicide. He's part of a conspiracy to make a person commit suicide. He intentionally helps the victim to commit suicide by doing an act or by not doing something that he was bound to do. However, abetment charges cannot be framed merely if a person was having a bad relationship with the accused. There have been many examples where cases have been dragging on for years and the charge has never been proven. In the case of Jiah Khan, her mother alleged Sooraj Pancholi of abetment to suicide. Till now, it's not been proven. Similarly, for actor Pratyusha Banerjee, her family alleged abetment suicide where her boyfriend was concerned, Rahul Raj. The trial is underway. Sunanda Pushkar, found dead in a hotel room in Delhi. Husband Shashi Tharoor charged with abetment to suicide. Trial still underway. Ruchira Girotra, 14-year-old Ruchika killed herself in 1990. It's one of the very few rare cases when in 2009, after 19 years, the court did pronounce Rathod guilty. However, in 2016, the Supreme Court upheld conviction but restricted jail time to just 6 months. The case of Geetika Sharma, 23-year-old air hostess Geetika killed herself in 2012. Politician Gopal Kanda was charged with abetment through a suicide note. Gopal Kanda was arrested but granted bail. The case still pending in court.
Not a very good track record, I'm afraid, Shantanu Sen, when it comes to abetment to suicide. Now, that may have to do with infirmities in the law as well, but do you concede that it isn't going to be easy to prove abetment to suicide in a case even like the Sushant Singh Rajput case?
These all cases were not with the CBI, Rajdeep.
Not necessarily CBI.
So
I'm not blaming the CBI. I'm just saying, now I'm saying abetment to suicide as a charge itself.
Abetment to suicide is a very difficult charge, but in this case, there is not only abetment to suicide, there is wrongful confinement, there is also breach of trust, and there is cheating. Look at the FIR of the Bihar police,
yes,
and all these will have to be investigated. So therefore, CBI will investigate what the charge that will stick, CBI will prosecute. If the abetment of charge does not stick, CBI will not prosecute. CBI will do justice. If there is no abetment to suicide, why should anyone
CBI will not be carried, are you telling me, Shantanu Sen, CBI will not be carried away by this media cacophony, kuch to karo, arrest karo?
Absolutely not. I have full confidence. After all, there are other charges. There's wrongful confinement. There is also 406, breach of trust. There is also 420, cheating. CBI will investigate all the sections. Where there is evidence, CBI
without
will
a witch
prosecute.
hunt?
Where there is no evidence, CBI will not prosecute. In this case, the aspect of no suicide note is a very big question mark. CBI will have to do a complete investigation to find out why did the person who commits suicide did not leave a suicide note. And that is where the cookie will crumble.
Okay.
If the CBI's ability to investigate will be fully open up here, because it is a difficult case. I agree with Mr. Azad that the case should have been handled by the Bombay police, the CID. They could have done an equal job, but why didn't they do so? Why didn't they register an FIR after completing the inquiry quickly?
Because they don't seem...
Police.
Okay,
These
that's
are questions which are relevant.
That's a question mark. Why didn't the Mumbai police file an FIR is one of the big question marks. But Yashovardhan Azad, let's be honest.
I can tell you, if they had, it would not have been taken away.
No, but I think Yashovardhan Azad, the fact is that state polices do not have as good a record as CBI. 30% versus 70% is roughly the average. CBI, 70% of the cases successful. Most state government, 30 to 35%. I want to understand, what can the CBI do that a Mumbai police could not do in an abetment to suicide case like this?
Well, let me agree with you on one count that this is an extremely difficult case. And Mr. Sen has also said that there was no suicide note. Besides, there are 2-3 other points which you discussed even last time, that to prove an abetment to suicide and, even, confinement or criminal breach of trust, ED is already looking into some money being swindled. Now, it's very difficult to prove because on one hand, we are already saying that the man was fully alive and alert and was doing very well. In a situation like that, I mean, if some money has gone out, perhaps the best man to say that the money has been swindled is he himself, but he's not there himself. And somebody else on his account is saying that there was embezzlement is going to be a very, very difficult task, whether with the CBI or the case would have been with Mumbai Crime Branch.
So what you're saying is that either way, whether the case is with the CBI, whether it was with the Mumbai Crime Branch, this is not going to be an easy case to crack. It will need a lot of time, it will need a lot of patience, and it cannot be done like a 24/7 news channel would want. Instant T20 style prosecution. Shantanu Sen, Yashovardhan Azad, for giving us an informed point of view on a case that, as I said, deserves that kind of attention without the noise. It needs to be treated as an important news story, but not a sensational one. That's what we've tried to do, as we always try on the News Unlocked. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.